investing in your local farm doesn't necessarily mean you're investing in your local economy. Not always. I think there's a couple like gross generalizations about farming that actually kind of harm accountability in farming. And I think those three things are understanding that most of your money in a farm tends to go to out of state or even out of the country merchants, right? When you have a cattle operation in Wyoming, they are not, buying local alfalfa. They're typically buying alfalfa from like Utah. Fertilizer inputs, they all come from large corporations that aren't really giving back to the community. And then even in subscale, you can also understand that a lot of these smaller organic farms have to utilize something like WWOOFer. We can go into the ethics of that, but like WWOOFer is basically, kids out of college that are willing to go work on your farm for exchange of housing. I wouldn't consider that one, long-term investment in your community's workforce, or two, long-term economic viability. So even on an industrial scale or even on a sub-scale farming network doesn't necessarily guarantee your dollars invested in a local farm are actually being a net positive for your community. So how do we address this and how do we create transparency around this? I do think as a community farm, like what we're trying to build, a community orchard, community educational hub, we're able to address and be transparent in three ways. One, offering free educational, free access to the knowledge that we have, which I think increases food sovereignty, food being connected. I think that does have some value. Two, we are invested in giving the few laborers that we do have a living wage, $15 an hour to 20, which, to be clear, we're in West Virginia. But as we scale up, it will go to 20, which is where I want to target. And then three, building and investing in what I would consider the logical next step. One, how do we get an educated and skilled labor force? Two, how do we gain as much of the scalability that we need as a farm to produce food so that it can be given both in high quality but at a price that people can afford? And then three, how do we invest in smart strategic ways in both our local and state level? So one, as a farm, we are already letting people come on here and learn how to plant, learn how to take care of trees. And we're talking about agroforestry values, so forth and so on. So that's already being accomplished. You can see that on our Facebook. We have an event every Saturday, and we're working on it. It's going to take some time to scale up. On the second point, I'm working with local farmers and nonprofits for us to potentially invest our time outside of the farm, which is limited, into providing housing first labor educational hubs. So basically providing an outlet for homeless, impoverished, and at-risk people to come into housing and then decide to either join in a farm educational program or even honestly skills, any kind of trade skills, and be given opportunities to work either on a farm or in their skill, so forth and so on. So working with the local community action, there's no homeless shelter in 6 counties around me. Mingo, it's called Zone 3, West Virginia. There's not a single homeless shelter in these 6 counties. It also has the largest unhoused population in West Virginia. So the need is great. So we're definitely working towards, first, getting a homeless shelter. Second, we're working with somebody that wants to provide about 50 houses on top of an indoor farm, an educational farm. And then he's trying to, that gentleman who's running that nonprofit is also trying to work towards allying with the technical college, the New River Technical College, to reopen their agricultural tract, and then we will get the grant money for them. So that's pretty cool. On the third point, we want to provide not only the produce that we have locally that's, regeneratively grown through a pick your own program, but we also want to provide the trees themselves, right? So that you can grow it yourself. So we are enabling others to do that, and we want to make sure they have strong root structures, so forth and so on, as we build out our community farm. And eventually there are plans for things like foraging classes, woodworking classes, maker classes. So I don't think a farm by itself is a huge buoy for the community, but a farm hub, which there's tons of grants, by the way, for like housing on farms. There's grants for education on farms. Like, this is, I think, the way forward for an agro-tourism model, where you're giving free stuff as you can, right? And then you're, trying to create educational and fun activities for those that can afford it and want to come to do that. Especially when we have a big tourism industry, agro-tourism opportunity here in West Virginia. Being able to tap into that, which is not local dollars, it's out of state dollars. Over 1 million people coming to Summersville Lake and 2 million to the New River Gorge area. Most of that is people coming from out of state. So you're being able to take that was very hard to get currently out of state dollars and then reinvesting it in local community action and nonprofits that we can ally with, thus creating a transparent and easily digestible reason that you can see direct dollar-to-dollar community farm action. And it is in my best interest moving forward to make sure that this is the crux and the core of our mission moving forward.